The Watchman's Rattle by Rebecca D. Costa is a book about the societal trends that lead to collapse. She looks at the issue of societal collapse through the lens of evolution, citing that humans are evolutionarily incapable of comprehending solutions to societal problems once they reach a certain threshold of complexity. In this way, Costa does not look at societal collapse through the specific problems had at the time, but rather through the similarities that the societies that have collapsed had. She discusses consistent occurrences among societies such as Mayans, America, and Bangladesh. Her conclusion led her to discover that societal collapse stems from a lack of ability to understand certain complex problems, leading to a societal shift from the reliance of knowledge to the reliance on beliefs. In the beginning of the book, Costa takes the time to explain how humans are still evolving, claiming that most people today view evolution as a thing of nature, as in we are separate from it, later explaining that humans are still evolving, and while extreme physical adaptations may not be visible, cognitive evolution is still very prevalent. Citing the Mayan issue of water shortage to be a perfect example. She explains that the Mayans were a thriving society for thousands of years, until they experienced a water shortage. This was an issue that the Mayans were incapable of solving, as they did not have the scientific knowledge to develop desalination devices or channels to divert water towards a civilization. Once people noticed that scientists could no longer solve this problem, people lost faith in knowledge, which eventually led to the collapse of their society, after people no longer relied on scholarly institutions to solve their problems. Costa states that this is the most often occurrence in societies that have collapsed, and is present in every society that has collapsed. Later in the book, Costa begins to cite the signs of collapse currently prevalent in today's American society. She explains that once beliefs become people's main source of information, memes begin to take over people's way of thinking. A meme is a belief that people have that isn't based around fact. One example might be, you must wait an hour before going swimming, after you eat. And while this has been discredited by several scholarly sources, people still spread this as fact. Costa explains that once a meme becomes large enough, they become, quote, super memes, which are memes that have spread far to every part of society and are widely believed by most people. She explains that several super memes that are currently taking over American society. She explains that there are several super memes that are currently taking over American society. The one that I found most interesting throughout the book was the idea of silo thinking. Costa explains that silo thinking is the process of thinking about only one aspect of a specific system, and not combining it with the rest of the system as a whole, thus separating it into a separate silo. The example Costa gives of this is healthcare. She states that hospitals, the people actually doing the healthcare, working on patients, are concentrated on helping people and developing new medicines and procedures to help as many people as possible. This is in its own silo and is separate when compared to the insurance industry, which is purely focused on the economic side of healthcare, or when compared to the government, which is in a silo of its own, which is focused on only regulating these systems. The point Costa makes is that all three of these silos are responsible for their own part of the system, even though the system is only one system, it is broken up into three separate parts, each of which develops its own specific concentration and is taken individually rather than as a whole. This is silo thinking. So, a solution in silo thinking is difficult for people to reach, as they can't see the problem as a whole, and instead focus only on the specific parts that they choose to concentrate on. This is, however, only one example of silo thinking. This process occurs with many issues, and is very prevalent today in modern-day society. There are many other super memes currently taking over society, according to Costa, such as counterfeit correlations, personalization of blame, and many others, all of which Costa states could be responsible for American societal collapse. Costa ends the book by stating that she believes that with the knowledge of how society collapses, it could be possible for us to adapt and prevent society from collapsing. However, I take issue with the idea that we can prevent society from collapsing via knowledge of how it happens alone. Throughout the book, Costa explains that the key characteristic of societal collapse is a switch from faith in knowledge to faith in belief. While I believe this to be true, I don't believe it's a sole cause, merely a symptom. Even if people put complete faith in knowledge, as Costa states, we would still not have the evolutionary ability to comprehend solutions to complex problems. So even with knowledge of what actions people take to cause societal collapse, we can prevent the symptoms of societal collapse, but we cannot take out the root cause. That is to say that we cannot stop people from turning to beliefs, but we cannot stop the inevitable effects of the issue at hand. So I would disagree with the idea that we can stop societal collapse by stopping the symptoms of it. For example, let's take the example that Costa gives of the mines. The mines' issue of water shortage was one that eventually led to their societal collapse. And let's say that the Mayans did have the knowledge that what would lead to their collapse was people losing faith in the sciences and switching to beliefs. So no one would lend a hand in the ritualistic sacrifices to gain water or the deaths of thousands that led to their societal collapse. Instead, people would have spent their time researching ways to get water in a drought. They would spend years looking for some way to get water through long channels or desalination. However, they had no knowledge of desalination, nor did they have the ability to create channels of water over long distances, as we have today. So they would most likely still die of dehydration and an inability to water crops. So who is to say that the knowledge of stopping their destabilization would eventually stop their water shortage problem? So is it fair to say that if we spend all our time today, in the world, all of our time, researching the effects of climate change, would we be able to stop it from destroying our society? I don't think so. I may be wrong, maybe there is a way, and I absolutely think that researching constantly is a better way to spend our time than writing about the way to do it, but I don't think that guarantees that we would find a solution. This book had a great effect on me. I think many people today are caught up in our societal problems. People look at things as if they are Democratic and Republican rather than looking at them as society with problems. People look at things today as if they are Democratic or Republican, rather than looking at us as a society as a whole, and we have several problems. Instead, they're chalked up. I think I used to fall into that trap a lot. It is part of the divisiveness that Costa states as a symptom of societal collapse. Starting as a stone-cold Democrat, I have absolutely become more open-minded about societal problems through this book. I view them more as a complex Rubik's Cube that we are all trying to solve rather than a personal attack on someone in every issue we face. Furthermore, I now understand more fully how we are unable to deal with certain wicked problems of our time. I would disagree that normal science cannot solve all of our problems. I think that one day we would be able to solve the problems once we know enough. However, this book has shown me that it is untrue to state that our science can solve all our problems in this current time. There are some things that we cannot solve simply because we really are monkeys that can think and communicate only slightly more complex than chimpanzees. So why does that mean that we can comprehend everything? It doesn't. One day, I think it will be possible, but I don't think it will come from a human, most likely an AI or something along those lines. But either way, one day, we will learn all the secrets of the universe and hopefully be able to solve complex societal problems with success. I would absolutely recommend this book to anyone. It is very well written and provides a great perspective on what our society should understand and remember. I think that there are many things that were lost through time, such as great ideas that developed through the Greek Empire or in ancient Egypt. Many societal ideas that might have gotten lost through word of mouth or poor translation or whatever, and gotten mangled and forgotten. And I think this book could be one of those things that could get forgotten one day. But I would absolutely recommend everyone read it and understand how it is easy to slip from belief in knowledge to belief in beliefs. To reliance on knowledge. From reliance on knowledge to reliance on beliefs. I love this book, and I would greatly recommend it to anyone.